So I have my own little festival called Lost Evenings that we do every year, and I think it was at the second one. It was and it was at the Roundhouse in London. And the thing about the Roundhouse, there's a little window where you can look down on the doors, and where everyone comes in, and you can't be seen, which sounds creepy, but bear with me. And I was kind of watching the doors open on day one, and lots of people come in with one of my oldest friends, who's known me since my days in the hardcore scene. And he looked at me and he went, "Oh, I see what you're doing, you fucker." And I was like, "What am I doing?" And he said, basically what he said was that like everybody, I had this idealized version of what hardcore punk scenes were supposed to be like, and then I found the hardcore punk scene in London, and then it wasn't quite like that in the end because real life is complicated, and there were kind of scene disputes and egos and all of this sort of shit. And he was like, "You're just trying to recreate your idealized version of what you thought a punk scene was like." And I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah. I mean, why not?" Do you know what I mean? And like, so the fact that particularly at Lost Evenings, but like hopefully at most of my shows, there is a sense of community around it is something I'm really grateful for and proud of, I would say. And like one of the things, I remember I was doing a show with Katie Tunstall, you know? Yeah, who's awesome, wonderful person. And she sort of said to me, she was like, you sort of talk to the crowd about being considerate to each other. She was like, "I don't think I've ever seen someone do that before." And I was like, I mean, I remember it from a kid, you know, straight edge bands, justice for animals, look out for each other, all that shit. But it's also, a few years into my touring career, it occurred to me that if you're standing on the stage and you had a microphone and everyone's paying attention, I wouldn't use the word responsibility, I would use the word opportunity. You have an opportunity to talk to people about how they engage with each other. And one of the things I learned from punk rock as a kid was that, like, you know, hardcore scenes are generally pretty insular, they're pretty small, they're often pretty fucking middle class, let's be honest with each other. But like, they're kind of a cool training ground for real life. And I'm really grateful that I grew up going to those kinds of shows. And they would, you know, we'd talk about animal rights, women's rights, anarchism, all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't like, I don't think any of us thought, well, hold on. Some of us thought we were changing the world there and then, we weren't. But I learned lots about my own ethics and stuff in that, and you take it outside of that. And that's a thing that sort of, I think is kind of in my DNA. So like just sort of saying to people on stage, like, don't be a dickhead, treat each other well, pick people up if they fall down, all that kind of thing. It's really simple and obvious to me. But over the years, I can never go to my own shows, obviously, right? Do you know what I mean? But like, I do think about the fact, apparently Jarvis Cocker used to walk around pulp shows in a giant rabbit suit, just so he could see what it was like, which I think is kind of awesome. Anyway, I can never go to my own shows, but like, I do have lots of people say that there is a more kind of like welcoming atmosphere at my shows than some others, and I'm proud of that fact.